All right, everyone, let's go over what we're going to learn in week two. So week two is the social trends in emergency management. This week we'll be discussing Hurricane Michael's social impacts, social trends in emergency management, and how social media plays a role in the phase of emergency management. And then also, which is very big, risk and risk interpretation. What is risk communication? Why do we have to communicate risk differently to different populations and subsets of populations? Kind of everything of the sorts. So let's look at the weekly overview. Upon completion of this week's assignments, you'll learn about risk communication and the importance of how risk is communicated, the uses of different communication tools in risk communication, and also social aspects of understanding risk. For this week, you'll work on a social media campaign, and you'll also discuss risk communication, and tools that can be used to communicate effectively. Hint, hint, one of them is going to be social media. So upon completion, you'll have a strong understanding of risk and risk communication, the ability to effectively communicate during disasters, and an understanding of how people measure their risk. So you see here, you'll have a few videos on risk communication and social vulnerability. Like I had mentioned in my introduction video, I worked with vulnerable populations in public health preparedness, and one of the issues was working with these populations. They're all subsets of other populations, so it's a lot of specific work that you're doing with these groups. You're going to do some reading on Hurricane Michael. There's a PowerPoint on risk and risk communication. Then we're also a little bit more on social media and emergency preparedness, as well as communicating risk in public health emergencies. So we move over to the first quiz 2.1, and this is going to be on risk communication. Like I said, you'll have 2 attempts. On the assignment 2.1 is about risk communication and hurricane preparedness. So you're going to look to create a press release to be distributed to the media for mass communication to residents of a community of an impending hurricane. So be sure to include the headline, the body, and a final note. You'll also see some examples at this link down here of a good press release. We'll then move to assignment 2.2, which is a social media campaign for disaster response, kind of another way to get out communications during disasters. You'll see here 6 ways to utilize social media in disasters, as well as the best way to plan a social media strategy. So what you'll do is create a social media strategy for residents of North Carolina of an impending Hurricane Michael. So you'll be sure to include who your audience is, what type of social media you will use for each type of audience, at least 5 draft communications, whether it be tweets, Facebook posts, or anything else that'll be used. And very importantly, what metrics you will measure to define success. And then a timeline working backwards from hurricane landfall when you'll be sending out each notification. Because you got to remember, it is important to time when notifications go out based on when people will see them the most. So next we'll look at the discussions. So discussion 2.1 is about communicating risk during disasters. 2.2 is social media in emergency management and the importance of using social media. And then 2.3 is around social vulnerabilities. So thinking about how you'll communicate risk differently to different socially vulnerable populations. So those are your 3 discussions, your 2 assignments, and your quiz for the week. So as always, you'll see them here. You'll have the check boxes next to all of them. Those will automatically fill and populate once you've submitted each assignment and each quiz. All right. Have a good week.